Everybody, welcome back. I'm like a couple minutes early on jumping on here, but I figured I would just sort of jump right in. Hopefully everyone's able to hear me all right. But for today, the crawl decided to take a little hiatus for this week, but I'm still gonna jump on here and chit chat with you guys for like half hour or so. And so I thought what I would do for this week is I have on my eyes some of the Danessa Myricks Multichromes, and I thought I would show you guys the ones that I have, along with the Multichromes that I have from JD Glow. Hey! Oh man, I'm excited to see what you upload. I love your series, like literally every week I'm tuning in. I don't always like comment, but I creep on literally like every single video because I love everything like scary and horrors, and so like make sure anybody else that's checking this out later, make sure you guys check out Ag Grundy's page. Her channel, I had done a collaboration with her last week that was so fun, and she puts out videos every single week, and Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are the days that she posts, and so make sure you guys go check out her channel. If you're able to post a link for your channel, I don't have any moderators for my lives ad, but if you toss in like a link for your channel, then people can go check it out. If not, I'll add in the description afterward a link so that people can go and check out your stuff. So yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in. Don't mind me as I'm like drinking my caffeine as we go. I worked out earlier and had like a really bad headache, so I just needed to wake myself up a bit. Yeah, I thought we would look at some of the liquid multichromes. Of course, absolutely, definitely. I mean, if anything, I'm watching your videos just so that I can learn how to like do my makeup better, because your eye looks are just stunning every single time. Like this for me alone was already really difficult, and it was literally just like a black base and then putting on the liquid chromes on top. Still struggled. That's my level of skill. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. Do you guys would you rather see the JD Glow ones first or the Danessa Myricks ones? JD Glow is I don't think they sell anywhere besides just on their website, but Danessa Myricks recently got picked up where some of her products are sold at Sephora now too, which is really awesome. I know that a bunch of her products are more cream based, and so I've always been a little bit intimidated to kind of try them out. But if you show me a good multichrome, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in on there. So I guess we'll jump into the Danessa Myricks ones first. And the ones that I have on my eye, I have these two shades. So the inner half of my eye is with the shade Forever, and then the outer half, which is a little bit darker, is the shade Lover. And so let's go ahead and swatch these guys on here. I have no idea how this is going to show up on my computer's camera, but there we go. So this is more of like a pink to orange to gold shift. I think you can see a little bit of the yellow there, some of the pinkish orange on that. And then this one, the Lover shade, is a little bit of a deeper tone on there. So we can swatch that guy. All right, thanks so much for stopping in. I appreciate it. All right, so then this shade is Lover, and that's a little bit darker. It's got more of a maroon undertone, and then shifts with some, I would say, darker gold on there, but really beautiful. All right. So then one of the next shades is Sweetheart, and that is this guy. And this one has more of a blue to green to purple shift. So you can see a little bit of the greenish and then some of the purple on that bottom shade. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm definitely seeing like a turquoisey blue. And then similar to that is this guy, Soulmate. Hi, Alex. Thanks for stopping in. How's the baking going? I'm jealous. I don't have a kitchen where I can bake on my own right now because I'm staying with my parents until my place is ready. And so my mom doesn't like if I take over the kitchen too much. And so I kind of miss being able to bake some. So how's that going? All right, this is the shade Soulmate, and also has a blue greenish purple shift on there. You can really see the blue on the camera. And then as I'm looking at it, I see more of the purple. And so it's kind of the exact opposite of the previous shade, where you get more of the purple on the one and then blue on the other. And so it's kind of funny. So like if you're looking at the bottom shade of Soulmate, ooh, it's gonna start smelling real good then soon, I bet, Alex. Oh man. And so as you're seeing like that lighter bluish green shade on the bottom, that is what I see when I look at the shade right above it. And so those are kind of the opposites of each other, which is, I always think, kind of interesting. So then the next shade is Adore You, and this one's definitely gonna be more of a deeper purple to blue, might have some red in there. Yeah, this one definitely has some red to that shift. You guys are catching some of that blue and purple. Definitely very pigmented, and the doe foots are decently sized on there. And so these are not meant to be liners. They are meant to be shadows for putting on your eyes. And I mean, the opacity on there is really, really good. So I've been really pleased with them. And then the last shade that I have is True Love. That's this guy. And again, it's going to kind of be purple with blue and green. I think you guys are catching more of the teal blue with just a little bit of purple on there. So yeah, those are the 6 shades that I have from the Danessa Myricks line. There were a bunch more shades that she had come out with, and a lot of iridescents. I think she just recently released like an entire line of just iridescent multichromes. And so those are really, really fun to use, like especially if you put a darker base on, then you can put those on top and it really brings out the colors. And so that's kind of what I was attempting to do today, was I put a darker pressed powder underneath, and then I applied the multichromes on top to really kind of get that color to stand out a little bit more. But we can also jump into the JD Glow ones as well. And I think the packaging for these is kind of cool. It makes storing them super duper easy because I just stack them like on top of each other, and it just makes it really, really easy. And so I prefer having this kind of rectangular shape rather than some of the round packagings that you'll get with liquid shadows. Just because then I can stack it all up in my drawers, similar to palettes. Like I'm not someone that does very well with like weirdly shaped palettes. So, but we will go ahead and swatch these. So this first shade is the shade which is a word I relate to very heavily, use it all the time. And we will go on the other arm so we can kind of compare these afterward. So this is the first shade. Wow, you can tell I am not left-handed. Okay. I do think that these are slightly less opaque. You do have to kind of build them up a little bit more than you do with the Danessa Myricks ones, because the formula is just a smidgen more liquidy. I say that as I'm holding the bottle upside down. Dump everything everywhere. All right, so this is the first shade, and it definitely has like a bluish purple red shift. So I think that this one is very similar to that last shade that we had swatched from the Danessa Myricks line. Those shifts are super duper similar to each other. That's one of the fun things about why I got like a bunch of these shades, was just to try and see, can I dupe one company versus another? And so I have like 5 or 6 other companies that I've also grabbed liquid multichromes from. And so I'm hoping to do a video very soon here where I kind of compare each of them and like how much product you're getting versus the cost and how good of a product it is. So it's just going to kind of be like all of the multichromes battling it out. So I thought that would be kind of fun. I would do that with my like powder multichromes that I have, but I just have such an insane number of them that that video would take like 3 hours. So I don't know if that's like the level with which we want to be looking at multi-chromes. So I figured just stick with the liquid ones, because then I can at least hope to condense it to where it's like a 30-minute video instead of 10 hours. All right, so the second shade that we are looking at is called No Way. And this guy is definitely some purple to like yellowish gold shift. So I would say that that one is more similar to probably the second one. Yeah, that second shade from Danessa Myricks. I think those two are super duper similar to each other. So it's kind of fun that there's definitely dupes going on here. So I think I'm going to try and set them aside so that we know which ones went that were the same. And so that was the last one. So that's these two. Yeah, this is kind of fun comparing all of them already. The next shade is Seaweed. It's this guy. So you can kind of already see greenish yellow. I see some blue as I'm looking at it. And again, since this is a little bit more of a liquidy consistency, you do need to do at least a couple layers just to really build up the opacity on there. This is a lovely shade. This is going to be really, really nice. Definitely gives me all of the oceany vibes on there. So that's more of a greenish shift on there with some yellow. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm getting blue and purple. So very, very fun shade. I would say there's probably at least like 3 or 4 different tones that are mixed in there. And that guy, I would say, I don't think we have an exact dupe with the Danessa Myricks. I think the closest shade that that one would have would be this third shade on here. But even there, I don't think that they're an exact dupe. And so I think that those are 2 different shades. But this one is super duper pretty, just has really nice shifts. And I think as I'm looking at them, like the JD Glow ones, even though you do have to apply a couple layers to build up the color, I think you can see the shifts better on the JD Glow ones than you can see on the Danessa Myricks ones. And so I think that's kind of something, if you're willing to take the time to build it up, I think the JD Glow ones are really, really worth it. So then the next shade that we have is Urgent, and that is more of a reddish tone to start. Let's see what that, ooh, okay. That's kind of like a fiery shade. A little more similar to what I have on my eyes right now, I would say. And that one actually, I don't think I needed to build up too much. It's pretty opaque already just on its own. Has a very nice kind of brick burnt red tone. And then as I'm looking at it, I see definitely a little bit of a copper to gold shift, but more of a deep shade for that one for sure. And I think, yeah, that one is definitely very similar to that second shade from the Danessa Myricks line. And so that's, I believe, this guy. So these two are very, very similar in tone. Okay. We've got 2 left on the JD Glow side, this more goldy one, and then this kind of purplish one. But I'm gonna take a quick drink here. All right. My dad was telling me that I'm probably dehydrated. That's probably accurate. Yet here I am drinking caffeine instead of water. I'm gonna die in the desert, it's fine. So this shade is Sphinx, and it is definitely more of a goldish tone, and I think that this one is meant to be more of a topper. And so even though it's a multi-chrome, you definitely have to build it up, and I would recommend absolutely putting this one on top of like a darker base so that you can see more of the tones, because just having it on the skin directly, like you can see it's pretty light on there. And so I would definitely recommend putting something a little bit darker on there, but that's still a very pretty goldish kind of shade, a little bit of a red shift a little bit. And then as I'm looking at it, You could almost see some lime greeny speckles in there, but it's definitely more so just goldish tint. Let me see if I can build that up just a little bit more so you can see that a little bit better. But yeah, this is definitely one that is not as opaque, and so it should be used as a topper. There you go. It's a little bit more. Still very pretty. I love a good gold, and all of these shades are a little bit more grungy in nature, which I absolutely love. Can never get enough of, like, especially a good grungy green. And then this last shade is a lot, and that's starting off with purple and blue with some red. Let's go ahead and swatch this guy. Yeah, definitely more of a reddish purple as I am looking at it. Perhaps a bit eggplanty with some cranberry. You can see some of that purple blue shift, and then as I turn my arm, it gets a little more red. Aw, thank you. So I'm actually getting my hair done next Friday to kind of fix the highlights, because, like, if you look, you can see a very distinct line of, like, where my hair is growing out and then where I attempted to get it fixed again. And so it's like 3 blocks of color. So I'm definitely next week gonna get that fixed, where hopefully it'll blend out a little bit more and lighten up the top a bit more so it matches the bottom that's more blonde. Because I don't know what they were doing last time, but they did not tone it at all. And for anyone that hasn't gotten their hair bleached or highlighted before, you have to tone it after you have bleached it, because otherwise within like a day your hair will just turn orange. And so I've been having to, like, tone it on my own with just using absurd amounts of purple shampoo. So I would like if they could just tone it next time as well, so that it has a little bit more of that, like, silvery yellow undertone rather than orangey undertone. Fun fact. I'm a little thirsty. Sorry. Yeah, so that is all of the shades between the two. So this is all of our JD Glow shades. These are all of the Danessa Myricks shades, at least that I own. They have quite a few more. I want to say, like, JD Glow has like at least 9 or 10 multi-chrome shades, and then Danessa Myricks definitely has like at least 10 of this type of multi-chrome. And then again, that whole line of like iridescent shades that she had released as well that are also multi-chromes, but more of that like lighter kind of silvery undertone rather than the darker base that these have. So that is those. I am super duper excited that Danessa Myricks is coming to Sephora, because then that way we can kind of test out some of the products, because since I am very hesitant to use cream products, it'll be nice to actually have it like in store to test out. Right? I mean, I legitimately, like, that first day when I got home, my hair was by the end of the day already turning orange. And so I went to Ulta and just got like a gallon jug of the purple lights or whatever, shimmer lights purple shampoo. And I like put it in my hair for 45 minutes and just sat there and was like, well, this seems dumb that I got charged like $250 to get my hair highlighted and they didn't even tone it. So I'm literally never going back to that place again, because that's nuts to charge that much and then have me have to tone my hair by myself afterward. Like, I go there for them to do that for me, I feel like. I am not a hair wizard, and so me trying to figure out how to do that correctly myself is just asking for trouble. So Alex, how long does the banana bread take to cook? Like, is that a quick process, or, like, I would imagine probably at least like half hour or so? I don't know. Again, you can tell complete lack of baking skills here. Like, cookies are my thing. I don't know how to do breads or anything like that. But I wish I could smell your kitchen and smell the vibes of the banana bread. I bet it's just super duper tasty. Yeah, I think what I can do, if you guys want, I do have a bunch of other multi-chromes, and so I can grab a few more of those and swatch those too, so you guys can see a couple others besides just Danessa Myricks and JD Glow So 2 seconds, and then I'll be right back. Enjoy the like tiny bit of ears that you see sticking up from Rogue. Okay, and I'm back already. Sped through that. All right, so some of the other companies that I have, there's a decent number of indie brands that I grabbed shades from. So I've got like the Makeup Maniacs ones, but these are definitely more like liners, so that doe foot is super thin so that you can just apply it as a liner. I would imagine you could get to the point of where you build it up to where you could make it into an eyeshadow, but it's a lot of work, and I'm a little bit lazy. 40 minutes, oh man. Oh, if you have less than 20 minutes left, I bet that's starting to smell real tasty. You've made, oh, baguettes. Oh man, a good baguette. I tell you what, like while I was living in Germany, that was the breads, man. That was where it was at. I think that's like one of the things that I miss the most now that I'm back in the States, is like trying to find a decent place to get bread is like a little bit tricky. Like I think around here we've got like Panera and that's like the extent of it, I guess. Yeah, when it comes to bananas, I'm like one of those people where I need to eat it just like immediately while it's still green. I like when they're really unripe. If there's like the majority of it yellow, I'll let my dogs have it because, you know, bananas are similar to carrots, that they're healthy treats for the poopers, and so then they can have them. But yeah, I only eat them when they're still super duper green. Yeah, so I do also have the 3 Natasha Denona ones, and so I can swatch those if you guys are wanting to see kind of what a high-end brand does, because these are definitely more on the expensive side, because first off, let's just compare the size of these guys. Like, look how much product you're getting in the Natasha Denona one versus the others. Like, use this like 3 times and it's going to be empty. Yeah, I mean, I don't drink beer. I'm more of a cider gal myself, but even with that, it's like you've got what, like Strongbow and a couple others, woodchucks, and that's like the extent of it here. And then like I had once where I was able to do a work trip to England, and they had literally ciders on tap. That was like a dream come true. I hung out at that bar for a hot minute. All right, let's go ahead and swatch these Natasha Denona ones just so you guys can see. And even though they are super duper pricey, I am by no means going to say that they are not good quality. It's just more so a question of like, can you get the same level of quality for less, you know? And so that's just kind of something. But I mean, hey, if you're wanting this little dude, by all means, but you're going to see here in a second, you can definitely get dupes for them, and so you don't have to spend that kind of money. So this first shade is Dogbane. And so I'm just going to swatch that right underneath the Danessa Myricks ones. And they are a decent level of opacity, like you don't have to build them up too much. And so again, the quality is definitely good. That is this guy right down here. So it's got a red to kind of goldish shift, a little bit of green at the back end as well. And so I would say that one is very, very similar to actually this second one from JD Glow. They both have a bit of a purple base and then shift to gold and green on there. And so if you're liking that, I would perhaps go with the JD Glow one instead. So that's this guy right here, which is, I believe, the No Way shade. And then the next one is Ultraviolet, which I don't know if I have an exact dupe for that one, just because it's not as much of a color story that I like the green to blue to gold one's the best. But that is this guy right here. So again, a bit of a purple base that then shifts to a green and yellow. Whereas the first one is more of a reddish kind of cranberry base, and then this guy is more of a purpley base. So that one, yeah, I don't think I have an exact dupe for that guy. But I mean, again, very, very good quality. And then the last one, which is the one that like literally everyone talks about, is Scarab. And they do also have this shade in the trichrome palette, so you can get it in liquid form or also as a pressed. And so that is this guy, which is definitely my favorite shade because it's like that really awesome green to blue to gold shift. So you guys are seeing kind of goldish with a little bit of green on the back end. And then as I look at it, I am seeing green to blue. So that is definitely one of the best shades, I think. Let's see here. I think the closest one that I have from Danessa Myricks would be the Sweetheart one, which is this third guy down. But even there, it's not an exact dupe. And so I think Scarab out of all of them is probably like the most interesting one that you could, I mean, I think it's the most interesting one. And I think application-wise, it's also really nice because it doesn't take a lot to build it up. Yeah, I think they're all good. So it's just a question of like, how much money are you willing to spend? Because you do get so little with these. And then if we're looking at more drugstore brands, I was super duper surprised. Ciate London came out with a few different multichromes. And so I thought that was like really random because I don't really, like I view them as a drugstore brand and I don't really view like drugstore brands as having like a lot of options for multichromes just in general because they are more pricey. And so I thought that was a really interesting find. And so for any of you guys that are over in Europe, you can definitely pick these up. They are available on the websites for the States as well. But if you're wanting to like test them out in store, I know that Ciate London is featured in a bunch of the drugstores like all across Germany, definitely in England. And so if you guys that are stationed out there still, if you guys are wanting to check that out, Ciate London came out with some multichromes. I'm going to take a sip here before we swatch these. Okay, I'm so thirsty. All right, so the first shade from Ciate London, the one critique that I will give on these is like the packaging. So the doe foots are like really, really stuck in there. And then the brush is a little bit less quality than you would see on some others. So you can definitely tell that it's like a cheaper brand. But the shades themselves are not bad. So this is the first guy, and this is the shade Ember. So kind of a red to gold shift. A little bit of green at the end there. So very, very nice. And again, these are not very sheer. And so with the JD Glow ones, you do have to build it up. With all of these other ones, you don't have to really build it up all that much. I think the only ones where I have to build up similar to JD Glow would be with the Chaos Cosmetics ones that I have. And that's just primarily, again, because they have like a little bit more of like an actual brush. This is kind of more reminiscent of like what I would think of as like a nail polish applicator. And so because of that, the bristles expand a little bit more. And so you have to take some more time to apply this to really build up the opacity. Then the next shade from Ciate London is Wonder. I am so worried that one of these times, like I'm just going to rip the entire doe foot off of there because it is like they are stuck in there. This is why I'm glad these aren't liquid. All right. So this guy I would say is actually very similar to the last one with the types of shifts. Just that it's, again, instead of a more red base, it's more of a purple base. But then the shift as I'm looking at it is still gold to green. And so that purple and red is really the only difference between those two. You can kind of a little bit see the gold, especially on that top one as I shift my arm. And that was the shade Wonder. The other one was the shade Ember that had more of the reddish tone underneath. And then the last one is Peacock. And this guy is going to be like a purple to blue to green kind of shift. And this one is a little bit more transparent, I would say. To get like a really good level of opacity, you might want to do 2 coats. There is that guy. So you can definitely see on that one the bluish green, real nice teal. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm getting purple, almost a little bit of pink on there. So as you see this in the second shade there, that purple, that's what I'm getting on this one as I look at it. So there you see those. And for anyone new that is popping in, we are swatching all of my liquid multichromes. So on, let's see here, this arm, the top portion is all JD Glow. These bottom 3 are Ciate London. Then on this side, we have Danessa Myricks. And then this bottom portion is the Natasha Denona ones. And then I do also have Makeup Maniacs, which is these guys, and then Chaos Cosmetics, which is these 4. And so we can try and swatch those, although those 2 do have, again, more of the liner type end to the applicator rather than a doe foot. And so if you're going to use them as an eyeshadow, it would take a little bit more effort to build it up. So this first shade is Dilemma from Makeup Maniacs. And even though it does take a little bit of effort to build them up, I mean, they are worth it. I'm just going to do little swatches on the side here so that I don't take forever to do them. But this is the first shade. Has a little bit of a more iridescent pink to gold shift. I'm definitely reading a decent amount of yellow, kind of a limey yellow. And then you can see that orange to kind of pink shift on there as well. So that's that first shade. Then we have this lovely gold one, which I'm thinking that this guy might actually be a decent dupe for the Scarab shade from Natasha Denona. And this is the Riddle. So let's see that guy. And as you guys are watching, if you're enjoying the content and you so feel compelled, I would love it if you would hit the like button. That does help my channel. If you're not subscribed and you're enjoying the content, also subscribe. I do this kind of stuff all the time. Not necessarily lives, but indie brands all the time. So here's this guy. So definitely more of like a goldish, I'm gonna come in from this side. This is real weird. So this has definitely more of a goldish kind of tint to start, and then bluish green as it shifts away. So very, very nice. And as I'm looking at it, I think that it's too light to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona. Because both of these are definitely more iridescent shades. And so I think that the base for both of them is not a darker base. Like all of these, you can tell, have a very dark base to them. Whereas this formula, these are both iridescents. And so they are significantly lighter with their base. So not an exact dupe. But then the next one, and these are all from Makeup Maniacs, we have Lucky Charm. And this guy is going to be kind of that fun purple to blue to green shift. Yeah. And this one's a little bit more of a liquidy consistency. There's that. You can see a little bit of the green, some blue and purple on there. But also very, very pretty. But it definitely seems like these 3 all have that lighter base, whereas I would be willing to bet that these 2 have that darker base on there. And so the first one of those 2 is Marsala, which is going to be like a red, gold, purple shift. Yeah, these definitely have a deeper base to them. So there's that first shade. You can just really see how much darker that shade is. It's purple with a bit of a cranberry shift. And then some orange, I would say, at the end. And so that one, I think is similar in tone and shift, possibly to this one from Natasha Denona. They both have kind of that brick red on there initially. And then the last one is the shade Euphoria, which is purplish blue, I think, with some red at the end. And this one's also a bit more of a liquidy consistency, and so you would need to build it up with a few coats to get that really nice and opaque, but definitely starts off with a blue base, shifts to purple and red, because as I'm looking at it, I'm able to very distinctly see the purple and the red. I think you guys are just mainly catching that blue, maybe a little bit of the purple at the end. So that is all of those. And then we just have the few Chaos Cosmetics shades, which I think that the majority of these are actually very unique, where you're not going to be able to find an exact dupe for them. And so it's beneficial that they are not as expensive. Chaos Cosmetics is an indie brand that is actually out of Arizona here, and they do a really, really nice job. They come either in these tubes, or you can also get them in the little dishes, the little pans, and then you can just use a brush to line them. And so I think that the little pans are actually a really good idea, because then you can just use whatever thickness of brush you want, rather than relying on this kind of nail brush, like nail polish brush that they have on here. Just because I personally am not a huge fan of that style of brush. Because it's not thin enough like the Makeup Maniacs ones, where you can get a really nice detailed line if you're going to use it as a liner, but it's also not thick enough to be the same as a doe foot. So I think that's my only critique with these guys, is using like a nail polish brush, because then also, given the consistency that the formula it has, you definitely have to apply a few layers. But once you have done that, it is well worth it. But you'll see here in a second what I'm talking about. Like, you really have to work at it with the application. And if you don't use, like, see how I already kind of had to like smear it around a little bit just to show the shade, but they are gorgeous shades once you actually are able to kind of smooth them out. But this guy starts off with a greenish and then shifts to purple blue. So very, very pretty. Yeah, and then you can see, like, as you're working with it, like it frays out on there. And so I kind of wish that they had gone with a different brush for those. But pricing wise, the Chaos Cosmetics Multichromes are definitely like some of your most competitive pricing. All right, then we have this guy, which is the shade Odin. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say on the last one. Mithras is the name of this one. And then Odin is this guy. All right. Here we go with that. Just wish that these brushes were a little bit better, because it makes my life real rough trying to like get this to work. There you go. So this one also has a deeper base. So it starts off with red and then goes towards a goldish type shade, and then ends with just a tiny bit of green, I think, but that's more so gold to orange to red as the primary shifts that you have. All right, and then the next one is Dionysus, which is this guy. And this is going to be more of that purple to blue to red shift. There's that guy. So there you can see a really nice blue to start, and then definitely cuts over to purple and red as the shift happens. And then the last shade, I would say, is probably the most unique, where like I haven't really seen any other colors like it, is Demeter. And it's because I definitely think it's a little bit of a lighter base, and so it's got more of an iridescent sheen to it. But the shifts are even different than the iridescent ones from Ciate London. And so I think it's very nice if you're looking for something a little bit different. And interestingly enough, the doe foot on this one is probably the easiest one to work with, But this one really reminds me of like unicorn scales, just absolutely gorgeous. Starts off with like a lighter blue to purple, and then gets a little bit green and pink in there, just all the shifts, and is just absolutely beautiful. And so I think that this is definitely my favorite shade out of all of these, just because it is so, so unique. But that is like pretty much all of my multichromes. I do have a couple from Sydney Grace, but they are like in these tubes where I would need to grab some brushes and everything to apply those. So I think I'll do that on a different day where I'm looking at all of my Sydney Grace shades, just because I have so, so many. But I think that about does it for my live for today. Thank you so much for you guys showing up. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, click the like. But does anyone have any like last minute questions before I dip out of here, or just saying hi or anything like that? If not, I am going to click away. Take a sip while you guys think about that. All right. It was so awesome for you guys to check in. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll hopefully have the crawl happening again next week. And so we'll get some other creators that are going to talk about stuff too. But yeah, thanks so much for joining in. And you guys just have a good weekend. It's good seeing you too. Man, I hope we can actually like meet up at some point here. Like you're literally like right here. And I'm like, well, we can't do it because of COVID. But hopefully at some point soon. But you guys have a good one, and I'm gonna jump out.